Welcome back to Storytime and our The Debrief story. Myself, Eric Immesberger, retired ATF. Well, listen, our last story time was the debrief about line of duty deaths, and the river of waterfall of feedback that we've gotten from that, and just quite a number of NYPD texting. I thank you for doing that. That was great. So that was a special one to do, and I'm glad I decided to commit it to tape. But tonight we've got a completely different vibe, if you will, and this should be heartening and motivating to new detectives, young police officers. If you're in an academy situation and you're listening to this, this is going to be a story for you, and things that you just don't think until you look. So I'm going to bring you back to my street agent days in Group 1, Brooklyn, working out of a very secret squirrel building in Red Hook, Brooklyn, which doesn't even exist anymore. It was torn down once the landlord realized he was sitting on like $20 million of dirt. ATF, you have to find another place. So we did. But my Group 1, was on the second floor of this 2-story building. And some of the most awesome stuff came out of left field. So a guy calls for me by the name of Stanley Friedman. I'm not even sure if he's alive anymore, but Stanley was a retired NYPD detective, first grader, no less. So he was something special. And when he retired, Bronx District Attorney offered him a job as a detective investigator in the Bronx DA's office, which he took. Another guy like us that, just didn't want to be home. But he took it upon himself as his mission, as he saw it, was he planted himself in Bronx Central Booking, and he interviewed every single prisoner that would agree to speak without a lawyer. And Stanley had no skin in the game. He was not going to make cases off of information from these guys. Stanley fashioned himself as a repository of information that he would then call people that he used to work with, people that, would answer the phone if he called, and act. I got introduced to Stanley early on. And just to backtrack, what is Bronx Central Booking? Each borough, 5 of them in New York, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, Manhattan, every borough, which is a county, has what's called central booking. So when I was detective making an arrest, you bring your prisoner back to the precinct, your office, wherever, and you're going to do initial processing. You do the fingerprints, you're going to do what's called an online arrest sheet, all the paperwork stuff. But then you have to lodge your prisoner prior to them getting arraigned. And you would go, you arrested them in the Bronx, you go to Bronx Central Booking, you lodge your prisoner, you get him medically checked, and you have to like Velcro yourself to your prisoner. You're going in line with the other 50 cops that made an arrest that night, and you're waiting in line to have an EMT do a examination. Yeah, fit for confinement. That was like the phrase, fit for confinement. And if they were not fit for confinement, you had to bring your perp to an emergency room and get a doctor to what's wrong with this person, and then get a doctor to sign off fit for confinement, which just added another 10 hours to your night, because you're not getting out of a Bronx emergency room unless you know somebody, which I did for this story. And then you got to go see an assistant district attorney, do the complaint, bring your witnesses. If you make an arrest, doesn't matter where, you're not getting home till the next day. As a matter of fact, when you get done with your overtime, your regular tour starts. And back in my day, you had to bring a lawn chair to central booking. Like you had your perp in one hand and a lawn chair in the other hand because you were going to be there a while. It's not that way anymore. Now they want to avoid the overtime. They'll assign your arrest processing to somebody that just came on duty. You know, you're not going to make as much overtime. We used to call collars for dollars in, coming up for Christmas time. Kids need presents. I need an arrest. They make presents, and there you go. But anyway, Stanley Friedman would debrief every prisoner that would talk to him, which is a Herculean task. So I would say when Stanley would call me with information, it only panned out about 1/3 of the time. But if you don't swing the bat, you're never going to hit the ball. So when Stanley called, I would listen. And if it was even mildly okay, I would take the ride up to the Bronx from Brooklyn. Stanley, sit me down with this guy. Let's see where we can go. Stanley calls me. It's a Friday night before July 4th weekend. But Stanley's on the phone. Should I just go home? No. Stanley was the golden goose. Stanley, what do you got? He goes, hey, Eric, I got a dripping, disgusting heroin addict, a guy, and he's in central booking for like 50 driving while suspended. This is like, it's a felony arrest, but this is like driving stuff. Okay. What has he got? He's got information on a guy that just shot a guy, paralyzed him, and this guy is a big-time heroin dealer operating outside of Hunts Point, Bronx, which is, if you eat a tomato or a banana in New York City, it came through Hunts Point. Everything comes through at 3 o'clock in the morning, goes out to the rest of the boroughs. So the place is huge. Huge for drug dealing, huge for prostitution, and all the rest of it. It's a city within the city. This kid has given Stanley information. Hey, I know somebody, big time heroin dealer. And the other day he just shot a kid, paralyzed him. And he's got a fake NYPD detective shield. He's got an NYPD ballistic vest. He's got an NYPD raid jacket. And he's got 2 guns, at least that I know of, including the gun that paralyzed this kid. Okay, I'm on the way. I go up to the Bronx. As you know, other people in the office, oh my God, just don't even answer the phone. I'm like, no, hey, if you're in it, you're in it. And if you're in this job, this is how things happen. Out of left field, hey, it's Friday night, July 4th weekend. Nobody wants to be there, but this is what we do. So I go up and Stanley puts me in front of this kid, and he's a mess. I mean, he is a level 10 heroin addict, which automatically you got to put the information through like a filter, because an addict, they're professional. They're better than your kids. They are professional liars, and they will say whatever they think they need to say to get out of whatever jam. But I talked to this guy, and he lays out this story. Now, the story has got what we like to call hallmarks of truth. Like, he's telling me certain things about this story. This isn't like just made up, because he's being very specific. He's like, this is the apartment this guy lives in. He's the superintendent of the building. Like, for anybody that doesn't live in New York City, every large apartment building, they have a superintendent, and they usually have an apartment on the first floor. And there's typically a huge basement to these tenement apartment buildings that were built like 100 years ago. So he's being very specific. He's like, this is the door that the super lives in. This is his name. Like, he's got a name. He's got a first name and a last name, which is amazing. And then he describes the door in the basement where this gun, vest, shield, raid jacket is. And he's describing what's written on the door, where the lock is, where the box is that has this stuff. So now I'm like, maybe this guy shot this kid and whatever. And I actually asked him that. And I'm like, before we go any further, are we telling a biographical story, or is this a real thing? And he's like, I'm telling you. Okay, good. So he's so specific with the information, but what he's not specific with, and this is not unheard of, he doesn't know the precise street address of this building. Because it's the second building off this corner. And I'm like, God, how'd you get through life? But a typical response, like just when you ask somebody a name, a cat they've known 15 years, they know them by a nickname. They don't know their real name. It's crazy. Okay. So there was a saying that kind of got stuck to me. Hey, if you give Eric a rule, he'll break it. And if you give him a chance, he's going to take it. So this kid is so detailed with the information. This is the chance I'm going to take. And I had another agent with me, a female agent, and I'm going to sign this prisoner at essential booking, which is, I did it. You're allowed to do it. But if there's like 100 things that could have went wrong, missing prisoner, he gets hurt, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with that. And I'm a federal agent. I'm not the NYPD arresting officer, the AO. I'm like a federal agent signing out this driving while suspended arrest. But I'm gonna have him point out this building, and we go. And he points it out. He said, "That's a building right there. That's a building. It's in the South Bronx." Good. He has so described everything. Handcuff an ankle to the rear seat metal support. I handcuff his hands to the grab strap because I'm going to leave him in the car with the female agent. And I'm going to go into this building. And if it is not as he has said, I'm just going to bring him back, sign him back in. So good. I go into the building and it is money. The name that he's given me is on the name of the bell in the lobby, top of the stairs. That's the superintendent, first floor, just like he said. And I go into the basement, like I just wait for somebody to walk in the building. I walk in behind them. I go down to the basement, which thank God wasn't locked. I'm able to get down there. And the door this kid described, boom, right where he described it. Everything he said's on the door, stickers, whatever. I'm like, okay, this is legit. And the door's locked. Good. I didn't have a search warrant. That door could have been unlocked. I'm not going to go in there. So I come back out, and now we're going to go into phase 2. Phase 2 this is Friday night, July 4th weekend. I am not going to be able to get a federal judge to sign a search warrant. They are, all of them, in the Hamptons. So I do the next best thing because I already know the state system from being a detective. I call up the Bronx DA's office. I knew people up there. I said, is what I got. Hook me up with whoever the on-duty ADA is. Then there was a bunch of them. And a search warrant, state search warrant. Good. And I also knew a first-time use of an informant, you have to bring that person before the judge that you're submitting your affidavit to in the warrant request. On a first-time use informant, they require that in the state. And this is 3 years ago, something like that. 24 years. But they're like, yeah, bring the guy down and we'll hook you right up. Well, I'm looking at this guy. He's already starting to go through withdrawals. He hasn't thrown up in my car yet, but it's coming. So what I usually did with these addict informants before I would bring them to the judge, I would bring them to the emergency room. and just get an emergency room doctor, a kindred spirit. I'm like, hey, I need a favor. Give this guy a compazine shot in his butt, and compazine takes away all withdrawal symptoms for 24 hours. It's almost like Motrin for addicts. They like water in a flower. They're back to the land of the living. So we do that, and I'm in and out of that hospital in an hour, like a record breakneck, like that holiday weekend Friday night in the Bronx. You'll like take a number. You're number 300 tonight. You can be here till tomorrow night. I'm like, need this warrant. 1 hour in and out. Thank God it was a doctor that's like, yeah, I'll hook you up. Just bring the kid in. Good. So now off to the ADA. We do the affidavit, get the warrant ready. She calls a judge, 24-hour judges in the state system in New York City. If I need to get an arraignment at 3 a.m. or a search warrant at 3 a.m, there's a judge sitting that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We don't go home. Good. Go see the judge, bring this now temporarily repaired heroin addict. He's not throwing up anymore. He's not sweating like he just ran a marathon. And the judge has a few questions for him. He successfully answers them, and we get our search warrant. So now I call my boss, he was NYPD before coming on to ATF, and I think I've referred to him once or twice, Tom Kelly. And Tom Kelly was he was a tough individual physically, and he was very tough to all of us. Like it was the school of tough love. He had a standard, and you better be meeting the standard. So I call up Tom, and Tom and I got along great. And I say, hey, Tom, this is what I got. It's like 11:30 at night, Friday night. And he's like, so I'm guessing you want to execute this warrant tomorrow morning. I'm like, well, I'm not going to ask everybody to come in tonight, but yeah, let's hook up at 6 a.m. and we'll do it. This is what Tom tells me on the phone. He goes, okay, I will get the troops and we will tomorrow morning, but I'm just telling you right now, Immesberger, if this is a dry hole, I'm transferring you to Guam. I'm like, hey, I think it's got all the like feelings of this is going to be just what it is. Okay, all right, I'll meet you. But hey, I'm already filling out a plane ticket for Guam. I get everybody in there Saturday on a July 4th holiday thing. Okay, good. We get there, 6 a.m., go down to the basement, leave a few people to watch a superintendent's store. We opened this now not locked anymore door. And there's a box right where the informant said, open a box, NYPD shield, ballistic vest, raid jacket, and under all of that, 2 loaded firearms. Bingo. And one of those 2 firearms ballistically tested back to the shooting that paralyzed the guy outside Hunts Avenue. It was a drug dispute shooting. So I was like, bad guy, hey, bad guy today, victim tomorrow. And that's what that was. So now we've got the goods. So now we're going to go deliver the good news to the superintendent. I think his name was Jose, if I'm not mistaken. And he opens the door, and in the space of half a second when he sees us, he realizes that his world just disintegrated. He's a prior multi-convicted drug felon in the state, and he knows he's on parole. He knows he's drilled. So we say, hey, search warrant, and we just recovered downstairs. And there was heroin down there too. And he cooperated and he gave up the heroin he had in the apartment. He didn't have a choice. He had no options. He's like, let me try to help myself a little bit. And nobody was more happy than the NYPD detective that had caught that shooting, because it was an absolute whodunit. They had no suspect. They had a witness or two, but it wasn't going anywhere. It was just going to be one of those, we'll wait till maybe there's a gun recovery and it tests back to ballistically to this shooting. But that might be tomorrow. It might be in 10 years. Who knows? But we were able to make that detective happy that he was going to get a clearance for that. There was a victim that was going to get justice. 2 guns were off the street. All this fake NYPD stuff was off the street. God only knows what he was doing, because he didn't want to really cooperate beyond turning over the heroin. However, if you're in possession of that kind of law enforcement stuff, there really is nothing other than you are doing, hey, we're the police, we're pulling, you're basically a fake cop, and you're trying to rob drug dealers or burglaries or whatever you're doing. That's the only reason somebody would have that, much less a multi-convicted drug felon. And he wound up doing a plea. Dead in the water, he can't go to trial. So I want to say he got 25 to life when they put together the attempted murder along with the heroin. And he was already, I don't know if he was on lifetime parole. He was definitely on parole. And no July 4th hot dogs for you, my man. You're as a matter of fact, you're going to central booking. We processed that. We could have went federally with the felon in possession. He would have been at the top of the sentencing guidelines. But the real hammer in that particular case was the state arrest. So we initially arrested him for the felon in possession, just so he is not going anywhere. He's going to be what's called detained federally. There is no bail package. You're not going anywhere. So this gave us enough time, get with the case detective in the Bronx, give him everything, and put it all in a bow as a state arrest. You can use the felon in possession as a backup charge. Like if everything goes south, at least, boom, we've still got him. And he's probably going to bite off 10 years just on the felon in possession. So worked out good. Everybody was happy. And Stanley Friedman was happy that somebody answered the phone and responded to his, maybe baby request. It might go somewhere, might not go somewhere. I don't know. It's Friday night. I know it's Friday night. I'm in the Bronx too. But if you have a little something to go on, don't discount it. Don't poo-poo the messenger. Like I said, maybe only 30% of Stanley's stuff actually panned out for me. And there were some people that they would go up there and it never panned out. Who knows? But if you don't swing the bat, you're not going to hit the ball. And it's the separate, like when people say, my God, how did you figure that out? Well, this is how we figured it out. We took a chance on a dripping heroin addict, developed the information, verified the information, and everything worked out good, including the hospital, getting them the compazine shot, which by the time we got to the DA's office with him, he's like, oh my God, I feel actually better. Yeah. You're going to feel better until tomorrow night. It's going to be back to square one for you. I've had a lot of experiences similar to that where, there's always that one detective, there's always that one agent. They just always have something going on. And a lot of that is, hey, you took a chance on something, whatever, and now you got a guy and maybe you turn him into an informant, storyteller. And all you need is literally one high-speed good informant and one motivated cop, and you could keep the entire squad busy just with information from one source. The Golden Goose informant that he's just been out there forever. He knows everybody and he's boxed in on something and now he wants to give it up. So what did dripping heroin addict want? He knew we couldn't make this case go away, but he wanted the vehicle at an impound just so it was back at his house. So it was like the only family van. And we're like, yeah, dude, we'll get your van released. You gave up a attempted murder and heroin and fake NYPD stuff. Yeah. So we called the original arresting officer and he's like, hey, that's like fabuloso. Yeah. We'll get his van released, and the DA's office took a no jail position on the 50 driving while suspendeds. You got to get a lot of tickets to get 50 suspensions. That's a lot. And you're probably going to get an example made out of you. You're probably going to get a few months in Rikers Island for that. But worked out. So to the young officers and the motivated investigators, hey, every time the phone rings, it's not going to work out like that, but it might. You got to look into it. You got to look into everything, and you become expert at evaluating nonsense from that's not nonsense. That sounds actually promising. So nothing is going to fall into your lap, literally, sometimes, but not really. You gotta want to work. You gotta want to put the time in. You gotta want to put the effort in, and especially when it's the last thing that you want to be doing, because Friday night, July 4th weekend, it's like, I got 100 other things I could be doing. I had this lined up with the family. Well, do you want to be all you can be or not? The separation from average, good, to crushing it. And it worked out. Worked out great. I got a few good things out of Stanley. That was probably the best. That was a good one. Swing the bat. You might hit the ball.